Morning is a choice. Reset the day with stoic intention. Before anything else happens, before the first email, the first notification, the first demand, you wake up. And in that fragile moment between sleep and speed, you stand at a quiet crossroads. Will this be a day you drift or a day you direct? Most people don't realize this. They don't realize that every single morning is a declaration. A fresh chance to begin again, deliberately, calmly, wisely. Because the world will try to rush you, to fill you with headlines, to drag you into its noise. But the Stoics thought a different way, a more powerful way, a still way. It starts with breath, with presence, with a simple idea. Today is mine. Think about that. You don't have to wait until life calms down to feel peace. You don't have to earn worth by checking boxes. You don't have to start the day in anxiety just because everyone else does. You have the right and the ability to claim your own direction. This is where Stoicism begins. Not in books, not in grand gestures, but in how you meet the first light. Marcus Aurelius, writing to himself at dawn, once said, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." That's not philosophy. That's perspective training. Because here's the secret most people forget. Gratitude is not a reaction. It's a decision. You can wake up and focus on what's missing or what's present. You can rehearse your problems or reclaim your peace. You can say, "Ugh, another day." Or whisper, "I get another day." That shift changes everything. So here's a simple morning reset. Before reaching for your phone, before planning anything, before even standing up, pause. Place your hand on your chest. Feel your heartbeat, your lungs rising and falling, your existence continuing. And say, "This is enough." Now what will I do with it? Let that become your ritual. Not out of obligation, but out of reverence. Because every day you wake up is a silent miracle. One you didn't turn, but one you can shape. Set an intention. Not a resolution. Not a checklist. An intention. Ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be today? What one quality do I want to practice? What one action would make me proud of how I live this day? It could be, I will be patient, especially when it's hard. I will be kind without needing recognition. I will breathe before reacting. One intention, lived well, becomes a compass. And intentions, practiced daily, become character. The Stoics weren't obsessed with productivity. They were devoted to alignment. Epictetus didn't say do more. He said, first, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. So today, don't ask, how much can I get done? Ask, who am I choosing to become? That's the difference between motion and meaning, between surviving and shaping. Practical morning tip. Write this line on paper before you begin. Today I will. And finish it with one sentence that reflects your best self. Then, return to it throughout the day. Let it anchor you when things get chaotic. This is how you stop reacting and start remembering. This is how you start living on purpose. Final thought. You don't need a new app, a new plan, or a new identity. You need a new morning. And that begins with a whisper. Not, I have to, but I choose to. You choose to be calm. You choose to be grounded. You choose to be alive. And in that choice, you become free. The compass within setting a stoic intention each morning. What makes the difference between a scattered day and a powerful one? Not luck. Not what's on your schedule. Not what others do or not do. The difference is this. Whether or not you set your compass before you begin. And by compass we mean an inner direction, a conscious anchor, a guiding virtue. Because without that, you drift. You check boxes, but feel empty. You stay busy, but lack clarity. You survive the day, but don't feel yourself. But when you start the day by setting a clear Stoic intention, you don't just react to life. You guide it. Let's go back to 1,000 years. The most powerful man in the world, Marcus Aurelius, woke up early each morning and reminded himself, you will meet people who are selfish, rude, arrogant, jealous. But none of them can hurt you unless you allow them. He was being pessimistic. He was being prepared. He was setting his compass. He knew, if I wait for life to be easy before I'm calm, you'll never be calm. So he chose his intention in advance. And that gave him strength not in theory, but in real moments. What is an intention? It's not a goal, not a resolution, not a 2-do list. It's a single word or phrase that defines who you want to be, how you want to move, what energy you want to carry. It could be calm, integrity, clarity, patience, stillness, courage, love. You're not choosing what happens today. You're choosing how you will meet it. That's what makes you unshakable, not control, but alignment. Let's make this practical. Tomorrow morning, try this. Sit in silence for 60 seconds. No phone, no input. Just be with yourself. Ask, what do I need most today not to look successful, but to be aligned? Choose one word. Trust, focus, truth, presence. Choose intuitively. Write this line in your journal. Today, I will carry your word into every action. Return to that word when you feel yourself drifting. Like a compass, like breath, like a friend reminding you come back. This is not magic. It's mental conditioning. Because your brain is programmable. The world will offer you noise. You offer it intention. And that small ritual shifts your entire trajectory. Because now you're not just living the day. You're reshaping it. The Stoics called this prohairesis, your power of choice. Your ability to decide your orientation, no matter the external. It's what made a slave like Epictetus stronger than kings. He said, it's not events that disturb us, but our judgments about them. In modern terms, it's not what happens that defines your day. It's who you choose to be in response. Let me give you a story. There's a woman named Mira. She works in crisis response, high stakes, high pressure, high emotion. For years, her mornings were chaos. Wake up, rush, check phone, respond to fire after fire, until burnout hit. Then one morning, she tried something new. She chose one word: stillness. She wrote it on a sticky note, put it on her desk. Every time she felt reactive, she paused. Stillness. She breathed. She spoke slower. She made decisions, not reactions. That one word didn't change her job. It changed her experience of her job. And that changed everything. So ask yourself, what word do I want to live by today? What virtue will I practice, not talk about, but embody? Don't try to live every virtue. Just one. That's how character is built, not in bursts, but in layers. One clear intention. Lived deeply. Repeated daily. That becomes your identity. Final reminder. You don't need to predict the future. You don't need to control what's coming. You only need to decide, who am I going to be today? Then live that answer quietly, deliberately, fully. Because when you lead your mind, you lead your life. Emotional readiness. Prepare for the people you'll meet today. Let's be honest. Most of your stress doesn't come from tasks, deadlines, or time. It comes from people. From the way someone speaks to you. From a comment you didn't expect. From a tone that felt off. From disrespect. From rudeness. From indifference. And here's the mistake we make. We hope today will be different. We hope people will be kinder, more thoughtful, more mature, more like us. And when they're not, we get angry. We feel betrayed. We spiral. But the Stoics had a better way. A stronger way. They practiced something powerful every morning. Emotional readiness. Marcus Aurelius would begin his day by writing this. When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, today you will meet people who are meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. He was being negative. He was being prepared. He knew if you walk into your day expecting emotional ease, you'll constantly be disappointed. But if you walk in ready, then even the most difficult people can't shake you. Why? Because you already decided how to respond. This is the practice. Each morning, before the world begins, ask yourself, who am I likely to encounter today? What patterns do I already know? What has historically triggered me? Then say, I accept that people will be themselves, but I will remain myself too. That one mindset frees you. Because now you don't need others to be perfect. You only need to be principled. Here's the truth. People will interrupt. People will disappoint. People will be thoughtless, distracted, rude. Not because they're evil, but because they're human. Just like you. And the moment you stop being surprised by human behavior, you stop suffering from it. That's not apathy. That's emotional maturity. Let's break it down. You cannot control what your boss says, how your partner reacts, what the stranger in traffic does, whether someone replies to your message, whether they take responsibility. But you can control your tone, your pause, your decision not to escalate, your ability to step back, your refusal to mirror their chaos. That is real power. Not the power to win, the power to remain. Here's a simple exercise. Before your day begins, write down 1. One person or situation that might challenge me today. 2. The response I will choose instead of reaction. 3. The emotion I want to protect. Example. Today, I might feel dismissed in that meeting. Instead of interrupting, you'll pause, listen, and speak clearly. I choose to protect my peace, not my pride. This is how Stoics train. Not with mantras, with mental rehearsal. Let me tell you about Diego. Diego is a nurse. He works 12-hour shifts in an ER, high pressure, constant emotion, people at their worst. He used to come home drained, bitter, snapping at loved ones. Until one morning, he heard this quote, "The best revenge is to be unlike the person who wronged you." It hit him. He couldn't change patient's mood, but he could protect his energy. So he began a morning ritual. Before each shift, he wrote one intention. I will be calm, even when others aren't. I will hold kindness, even when ignored. I will breathe, especially when rushed. It didn't make his job easier. It made him stronger. And that made all the difference. You don't need others to behave better. You need to respond more wisely. That's the Stoic way. You don't blame. You build. You not fight what is. You fortify who you are. So tomorrow morning, remember this. The world will be the world. But you can be grounded, patient, strong, unshaken. That doesn't mean you're perfect. It means you're prepared. Prepared not just for what happens, but for who shows up, including yourself. The 5-minute meditation facing obstacles before they arrive. Most people start their day hoping for ease. Smooth traffic, kind coworkers, no surprises. And when things go wrong, because they always do, they act like victims. Why is this happening? This shouldn't be so hard. Today was going fine until this. But the Stoics never hoped for ease. They trained for impact. They practiced a mental technique that made them powerful before life ever had the chance to throw a punch. It's called premeditated omalorum. Translation: the premeditation of adversity. Imagine this. You're about to begin your day. But before jumping in, you pause. And you rehearse the challenges. The meeting that may not go well. The delay you didn't plan for. The interruption you'll need to handle. The temptation to procrastinate. The conversation that may sting. You don't do this to be negative. You do it to be ready. Because nothing hits as hard as what you didn't expect. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." But how do you get to that mindset? By rehearsing resistance. The Stoics believe, if you visualize the hard thing first, it won't control you later. And instead of wasting energy on why me, you'll ask what now? That shift is everything. Here's a 5-minute morning ritual to train it. Close your eyes. Breathe slowly. Visualize one obstacle you're likely to face today. Will someone criticize you? Will you feel tired mid-afternoon? Will plans get changed suddenly? Now, imagine your first instinctive reaction. Notice it but don't judge it. Maybe you want to snap, or scrub, or shut down. Just observe. Now imagine your chosen response. What would a wiser you do? Pause. Speak calmly. Let go of the outcome. Say to yourself, I expect this challenge, and I will meet it on my terms. You've just changed the future before it happens. Think, this is theoretical. Olympians do it before big races. Surgeons do it before critical operations. Pilots do it before flying through storms. Why? Because the brain doesn't distinguish between real and rehearsed experiences. So when you visualize calmly meeting a storm, your body actually believes you've done it before. Then, when the storm comes, you're not shocked. You're steady. Let me give you a real story. Sasha is a high-minus school teacher. Heard of a hour. 8 o'clock. The noisiest, most restless class. She used to enter hoping they'd be calmer. And every time they weren't, she got frustrated, defensive, exhausted. Then one morning, she tried a Stoic exercise. She sat in silence, closed her eyes, and said, "They will be loud. They will be distracted. They will test me, and I will remain centered." She walked in not expecting silence, but prepared for challenge. And instead of reacting, she led. The class didn't magically change. She did. Here's the key idea. Most suffering doesn't come from the challenge. It comes from being surprised by the challenge. But once you've faced it in your mind, you've taken its power away. It doesn't control you. You contain it. Tomorrow morning, take 5 minutes. Before coffee. Before email. Before the world barges in. Ask, what could throw me off today? What's my likely reaction? What response aligns with who I'm becoming? Visualize it. Breathe through it. Then, write one line. Today, I will not be surprised by resistance. I will walk into it with readiness. Because that's the Stoic advantage. You don't control what's coming, but you do control how you meet it. And when you train for friction, obstacles lose their ability to throw you off. You stop waiting for peace. You become it. The wisdom of the first pause protecting your inner response. It happens so fast. Someone says something sharp. A moment disappoints you. Plans change. A rude comment. A careless action. An email that reads the wrong way. And before you even know it, you've reacted. Tone raised. Tension up. Frustration brewing. But here's the question. Did you choose that reaction? Or did it choose you? The Stoics believe this is where your real power lies. Not in controlling the world, but in mastering the gap between stimulus and response. That tiny, barely noticeable pause. The moment before the impulse grabs the wheel. Train that moment, and you train your freedom. Ignore it, and you live your life in emotional chains. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." We've heard that quote before, but few people practice it, because reaction feels natural, instant, justified. But it's not wisdom. It's programming. You want clarity, peace, strength? Then you must reclaim that sacred space. The first pause. Here's what happens without it. You hear a comment and snap back. You get criticized and shut down. You feel ignored and rush to prove something. But here's what happens with the pause. You hear the comment and breathe. You get criticized and observe your ego rise. You feel ignored and ask what's true here. That shift changes everything. Let's break this down. Every emotional trigger gives you a fork in the road. React fast. Habitual. Usually defensive. Pause. Slow. Observed. Intentional. The pause might be only 3 seconds. But in that 3 seconds, you take your power back. You move from automatic aware. You move from emotional turbulence into steadiness. That is mastery not of the moment, but of yourself. Try this practice. Tomorrow, when something triggers you, just one thing. Do nothing for 3 seconds. Literally nothing. No reply. No defense. No movement. Just awareness. Use those 3 seconds to ask, what emotion is rising? What story am I telling myself? What would the wiser me choose here? Then choose deliberately. Even if you still get angry, that anger is now yours. Not your reflex. Your response. That's the difference. Let me tell you about Amelia. Amelia is a project manager, brilliant, organized, but known for her short fuse under pressure. Every time something went wrong, she snapped. Teams walked on eggshells. She hated that about herself. Then she learned about the first pause. So she set a rule. Before responding to any difficult moment, she would breathe 3 times. Silently. She taped a quote to her laptop. Pause. See. Choose. Within weeks, her tone shifted. Her meetings ran smoother. Her body even felt lighter. Because she no longer reacted her way into regret. She responded her way into respect. Here's wild. Your biology will fight this. Your nervous system will scream, say something. Defend yourself. Fix it now. But the Stoics train the opposite. Let the moment pass through you. Don't grab it. Observe it. Then decide. Marcus Aurelius wrote, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. That's the first pause in action. Let's make it real. Build your own version of this 3-part mantra. Pause. Let awareness interrupt impulse. See. Name what's happening internally. Choose. Don't act until you know who's in control, you or your reaction. Print it. Repeat it. Use it. Because wisdom isn't about suppressing emotion. It's about clarifying intention. Vital reminder. Every moment of tension is an invitation. To slow down. To come back. To become a little wiser. So tomorrow morning, whisper this before you begin. Today, I will not be ruled by reaction. I will lead with awareness. Because in that first pause, you stop being a prisoner. You become a master of your response. The morning honors Stoic affirmations to start centered. Some people begin the day with news. Others with notifications. Some start with 2-do lists. Others with complaints. But the Stoics? They began their days with truth. Words that reminded them of who they were, who they wanted to be, and what really matters. Not to hype themselves up, but to arm themselves inwardly. Because they knew. The world is noisy. People are unpredictable. Life is uncertain. But your mind, your inner fortress, can be prepared. And preparation begins with affirmation. What are affirmations really? Not cheesy slogans. Not blind optimism. But intentional reminders. Words you choose on purpose. To keep you centered when the world pulls you sideways. The Stoics didn't call them affirmations. But they used them every day. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, I am a part of the universe. Not harmed by truth. Not defined by others. Not afraid of change. That's an affirmation. It's not for performance. It's for practice. To shape the lens through which you meet the day. Why affirmations matter in the morning? Because your first thoughts set your tone. If your mind begins with fear, anxiety, or chaos, you spend the rest of the day recovering. But if you begin with clarity, strength, and principle, you spend the day leading. This isn't self-minded hope fluff. It's mental strategy. It's training your mind before the world does it for you. Here's how to build your morning armor. Each morning, say these out loud or write them down. I don't control everything, but I control how I show up. This shifts you from anxiety to responsibility. Today is not a test. It's an opportunity to practice. This frees you from perfectionism. I will not argue with what is. I will work with what's here. This reminds you to stop resisting and start responding. No one can steal my peace unless I hand it over. This protects you from emotional hijack. I choose reason over reaction. Stillness over noise. Wisdom over ego. This centers you in virtue. What matters is what I do now, not what happened yesterday. This resets your focus in the present. The obstacle is not the enemy. It is the path. This reframes challenges as fuel. I am not here to be liked. I am here to live aligned. This returns you to truth over approval. Choose 3-5 of these. Or write your own. Say them before the inbox. Before the world. Before anything else can define your state. Let them be your mental shield. Because when you begin your day on your own terms, you become less reactive, less scattered, more sovereign. Let me tell you about Matt. Matt used to start his mornings in a rush. Phone, coffee, stress, repeat. He constantly felt behind, disconnected from himself. Then one morning, he tried something new. He stood still, hand on heart, and said out loud, I will not let urgency define me. I will lead with calm. I will respond with intention. He did that for 7 days. Everything changed. Not because his schedule changed, because he changed. Because when you begin with identity, the world can't rewrite your day. Here's your practice. Choose your top 3 affirmations. Write them on a card. Keep it near your bed. Every morning, speak them out loud. Close your eyes. Feel the words as real instructions. This isn't about pretending. It's about reminding. Because you already have wisdom inside you. You just need to start your day from it. Final thought. You don't walk into battle without armor. You don't enter noise without grounding. You don't begin the day without anchoring your mind. So tomorrow, don't start in reaction. Start in recollection. Recollect who you are. Recollect your strength. Recollect your values. And say to yourself, today, I will walk with clarity, not chaos. With virtue, not vanity. With choice, not impulse. That's the Stoic morning. That's your morning now. The inner temperature, how to stay calm when others are not. You felt it before. That moment when someone walks into the room and their energy shifts the whole atmosphere. Maybe it's tension. Maybe it's panic. Maybe it's drama. And suddenly, you're absorbing it, reacting to it, getting pulled into their emotional weather. It happens in families, in meetings, online, in traffic, everywhere. But here's the Stoic truth. You don't have to match other people's temperature. You can set your own. Epictetus said, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. Read that again. Because it's not blame. It's freedom. HES saying, you don't have to take on other people's chaos. You can observe it without absorbing it. You can witness it without mirroring it. That's the power of the inner thermostat. Think of it like this. Most people live like thermometers. They reflect whatever's around them. If it's hot, they get hot. If it's cold, they shut down. But Stoics, they trained to be thermostats. They choose their temperature in advance. calm, grounded, present, unshaken. Not because the world is quiet, but because they are. Here's the shift. When someone raises their voice, you slow yours. When someone spirals, you breathe deeper. When energy rises, you anchor down. You stop matching emotion. You start transmitting presence. Let me tell you about Leela. Leela is a team lead. Smart, respected, but always reactive. When a coworker got upset, she got defensive. When her partner vented, she absorbed all of it. When her kid had a tantrum, she felt like she was failing. Until she found this stoic line: a fire can't burn unless you feed it. She realized every time she matched someone else's chaos, she was feeding their fire. So she made a change. She started every morning with this intention: I will not match tension. I will model calm. It wasn't perfect, but over time her presence started changing the room. Not because she controlled others, but because she controlled herself. Here's your daily practice. Each morning, write this: today, I will not take on energy that isn't mine. Then visualize a situation where you usually absorb others. A reactive coworker, a frustrated client, a tense family member, a stressful email. Now picture yourself doing the opposite. You breathe. You speak softly. You ask questions, not react. You maintain your tone, your pace, your truth. That's your training. It helps to choose a grounding phrase, a line you return to when pressure rises. Try these. I am the calm in the room. This isn't about me. I don't need to fix this. I only need to remain. Silence is also leadership. Let them spiral, I will stay. Repeat it silently, like a mental anchor. Because when your internal world is stable, you become the one others turn to, not the one who turns with them. Here's a powerful metaphor. Imagine you're in a pool with others splashing wildly. You can either splash back or dive under. Hold still. Let the surface calm. Stillness isn't weakness. It's strategy. It doesn't mean you don't care. It means you refuse to contribute to the storm. And that restraint, that discipline, it's rare. It's magnetic. It's stoic. Marcus Aurelius said, be like the rock that the waves keep crashing over. It stands unmoved, and the raging of the sea still falls around it. That's not poetry. It's your practice. Final thought. You can't stop the waves of the world, but you can train your breath beneath them. You can stay calm when others aren't. Not out of pride, but out of principle. So tomorrow morning, say this to yourself: I set the temperature. And today, I choose calm. The discipline of enough while less is a morning power move. Every morning, the world whispers the same lie. You need more. More productivity. More followers. More validation. More success. More to prove you're enough. And most people listen. They rush to check every box. Say yes to every request. Start 10 things, finish none. Scroll for answers they already know. But the Stoics practice something radical, something powerful. They began each day with the discipline of enough. Not in lack, but in liberation. Seneca wrote, it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. You can wake up in abundance and still feel restless. You can have peace within reach and still chase noise. Because the chase doesn't come from need. It comes from forgetting what matters and remembering. That's a discipline. So what does enough look like in the morning? It means you don't check your phone the moment you open your eyes. You don't cram your calendar to feel important. You don't eat stimulation for breakfast. Instead, you drink silence. You notice that's already working. You start with one clear act, not 10 half-hearted ones. It's not about doing less out of laziness. It's about choosing less with intention. Let me show you what enough can sound like. This breath is enough. This coffee. This quiet. This space, I need nothing more. I don't need to check everything. I need to be everything I already am. I don't need to rush. I need to return. These aren't mantras. They're mental armor against a world that feeds your insecurity. When you practice enough, you create a buffer between your value and your output. You start the day centered, not chasing. Here's your challenge. Design a minimalist morning. Not for aesthetics, for clarity. Try this sequence. Wake up. No screen for 30 minutes. Just you. Breath. Awareness. Say aloud right now, I lack nothing. Let it echo. Choose one task that matters most. Do it first without distraction. Journal one line. Enough for me today is, and fill it with something internal. Not when I finish the list, but when I stay present. When I act with patience. When I don't abandon myself. This isn't deprivation. It's design. You're redesigning a life that isn't stretched thin by external pressure, but rooted in inner sufficiency. Let me tell you about Mason. Mason is a high-minus performer. Founder. Always on. His mornings used to look like a sprint. 5 tabs. 3 devices. Checking everything. He told himself this is discipline. But he felt empty. Exhausted. Then, a mentor asked, "What would your mornings look like if you weren't trying to prove anything?" That question broke something open. Mason redesigned his mornings. No inbox until 10 a.m. One priority. One what? One page of reflection. Not to be less productive, to be more powerful. Because now he chooses what enters his mind, instead of letting the world rush him. Here's the truth. Most anxiety isn't from doing too little. It's from doing too much without alignment. And most people don't need more effort. They need more elimination. You don't grow by cramming more into your morning. You grow by carving out space for what matters. That's Stoic intelligence. Choosing the essential. Letting go of the rest. Marcus Aurelius said, "Ask yourself at every moment, is this necessary?" What if you ask that every morning? Is this scroll necessary? Is this urgency real? Is this expectation mine or inherited? And then say, what's necessary now is presence. What's necessary now is one true action. What's necessary now is remembering I already have what I need to begin. Final thought. The strongest people you'll ever meet, they aren't busy proving. They're quietly being. They walk slower, think clearer, act deeper, because they've made peace with enough. So tomorrow morning, before you chase, return and whisper to yourself, today I choose less. And in that, I choose peace. Make it sacred, turning your morning into a ritual of return. Every day, you wake up at a threshold. Behind you sleep, dreams, silence. Ahead noise, demands, decision after decision. Most people stumble across that threshold unconsciously. They rush. They scroll. They start running before they know where they're going. But what if you cross that threshold sacred line? Not religiously, but intentionally. As if your morning were a ritual of return. Not to your 2-2 list, but to yourself. The Stoics treated morning not as routine, but as a rite. A sacred act of alignment. A daily return to principle. To purpose. To presence. Marcus Aurelius began his days by reminding himself, you are a soul, carrying a corpse. That was morbid. It was clarifying. He used mornings to reset his values. To remember what matters. To direct his energy before the world could misdirect it. Here's the truth. If you don't create a sacred space in your day, the world will consume it. Your time will be used. Your mind will be pulled. Your attention will be owned by others. But you can reclaim it by turning your morning into a quiet ceremony. A ceremony of becoming. What makes something sacred? Not candles. Not chants. Not incense. attention, presence, slowness, repetition, intention. That's it. The sacred is anything you choose to treat as worthy of full presence. In your morning, your first breath, your first words, your first thoughts, is the most powerful moment to offer that attention. Let's design your ritual of return. It doesn't have to be long, but it must be real. Here's the framework. 1. The entry silence. Sit for 2 minutes. No phone. No tasks. Just be. Let your soul catch up to your body. 2. The invocation, one line of truth. Read a Stoic quote, or write your own mantra. Let it open your mind. 3. The anchor breath or movement. 10 deep breaths, or slow stretches. Return to your body. 4. The offering, write one intention. One sentence that guides your spirit. Today, I will protect my peace. Today, I will speak only what is true. 5. The transition, a bow or touch. Touch your heart. Bow your head. Whisper, I'm ready. This turns your morning from default into deliberate, from automatic into aligned. Let me tell you about Hannah. Hannah works in finance. Smart, fast, minus moving, and constantly overstimulated. She used to hit the ground running, emails before breakfast, calls before sunlight. She said, I was living in reaction, not in rhythm. Then she created a ritual. 10 minutes. No screens. Just her mat, her journal, and one candle. She wrote a single question every day. What do I need to return to? Some days the answer was patience. Other days courage. Sometimes forgiveness. That question became her mirror. And the ritual? Her reset. Why does this matter? Because in a distracted world, ritual is how you remember your name. It's how you remind your nervous system. You're not here to survive the day. You're here to shape it. And when you begin sacred law, you move through the noise without losing your signal. You move through speed without losing your center. Here's the deeper Stoic insight. You don't need a perfect ritual. You need a consistent return. Marcus Aurelius didn't always feel strong, but he returned. Seneca had days of frustration, but he returned. Epictetus had no wealth, no status, but he returned daily to wisdom. That's the real practice. Not performance, but return. Return to stillness. Return to clarity. Return to what's already within you. So tomorrow morning, make it sacred. Even just 5 minutes. Choose one space, one breath, one candle, one journal, one word, and whisper, I remember. I return. I begin. The practice is the point, letting go of perfect mornings. Let's be honest. Some mornings you'll feel off. The alarm will annoy you. The silence won't feel peaceful, it'll feel empty. You want to skip the ritual. Scroll instead. Rush instead. Collapse back into routine. And that's okay. Because this is not about perfection. It's about return. The Stoics never promised a flawless day. They promised only this: that if you train your mind daily, then when the chaos hits, you'll remember who you are. You'll come back quicker, fall less often, recover faster. That's the work. Seneca said, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. And much of that suffering comes from imagining what a perfect morning should look like. Quiet, focused, flowing. But life isn't clean. It's messy, chaotic, unpredictable. And your power is not in avoiding that. It's in meeting it with resilience and practicing anyway. So what if the kids wake up early? Practice anyway. What if your thoughts are racing? Write anyway. What if you overslept? Breathe anyway. The ritual isn't broken because it feels off. It's only broken when you don't return. Here's the mindset shift. Stop chasing the feeling of a perfect morning. Start honoring the discipline of a real one. Even if it's short. Even if it's messy. even if it's not working. Because every time you show up, you're building something deeper. Identity. Let me tell you about Cass. Cass is a creator. Introspective. Intentional. But also deeply self-critical. She'd designed these beautiful morning routines. But if she missed one step, she'd spiral. I failed. What's the point? Until her coach said something that changed everything. Don't worship the ritual. Worship the return. Cass began seeing her mornings, not as performance, but as a space to begin again. Some days were 5 minutes. Some were scribbles. Some were silent tears. But she kept showing up. And over time, she built a kind of quiet, stubborn strength that no one could take from her. Because here's the Stoic truth. Your mornings don't need to impress anyone. They need to anchor you. They don't need to be dramatic. They need to be yours. And the only measure of success is this. Did I return? Did I meet myself again, however briefly? That's the path. So how do you live this out practically? Use the nose or days method. Even 1 minute of journaling counts. Even one breath before coffee counts. Even repeating one mantra in the shower counts. You don't need to scale up. You need to stay in. Because the practice itself is the point. Here's your reflection journal for imperfect mornings. When things feel off, write these 3 lines. Right now I feel. Name it. Gently. Even so I choose to. Breathe. Pause. Sit. Whatever's available. This practice still matters because you're rebuilding, not performing, and you'll start to feel something shift. Not the circumstances. You. Your response. Your rhythm. Your tone. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Don't waste time debating what a good person should be. Just be one." We could say the same about mornings. Don't chase the idea of a perfect morning. Just return to one. Whatever that looks like today. Final reminder. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not your mood, or your energy level, or your distractions. You are a practitioner. And every day is your training ground. So tomorrow morning, whether you feel ready or not, whisper, "I begin. I return." That is enough. And before you begin the Stoic art of rehearsing the end, every morning we assume something quietly, undangerously. That we'll get a full day. That we'll get tomorrow. That we'll get another chance. So we delay. We avoid. We put off what matters. But the Stoics had a different approach. They began each day with this idea. Today could be the end. So let me begin it fully. It sounds dark. But it's not. It's clarifying. Because when you rehearse the end, you wake up to it's actually alive. You stop postponing love. You stop escaping truth. You stop confusing urgency with importance. You move slower. Speak softer. Act cleaner. Because you know, this moment matters. It might be the only one that ever does. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think." This was fear. This was focus. Focus on what lasts. What's real. What's worth your breath. The Stoics called it memento mori, remember you will die. And instead of being paralyzed by it, they were liberated. Because death isn't the end of life. It's the lens that makes life visible. So how do you practice this in the morning? Not morbidly, but meaningfully. Try this ritual. Sit quietly. 1 minute. Eyes closed. Ask what if today were my last. Breathe slowly. Ask what would I still want to say. What matters most today? What would I release? Write one line. If this day ends, let it end with presence, grace, a clear heart. Then choose one action that would make the day complete. A message you've delayed. A walk in silence. Forgiving someone without being asked. That's your ritual of mortality. Not to grieve the end, but to begin more honestly. Let me tell you about Aeneas. Aeneas lost her brother unexpectedly. No goodbye, no closure, just gone. In the months after, she changed her mornings. No more sleepwalking through them. She would light a small candle, place her hand on her heart, and whisper, "This is it. One life. One day. Let it be enough." She started writing daily completions. Not tasks, but truths. I told the truth today. I chose patience over pride. I helped someone when I didn't have the words. That became her metric of success. And in her words, I stopped fearing the end because I was no longer wasting the middle. Why does this matter? Because when you remember the end, you start living from the essence. You stop performing. You start participating. You start giving instead of guarding. You start choosing depth over drama. You start telling the truth sooner. You start loving without condition. You stop asking, "How much can I get done?" and start asking, "What would make today whole?" Here's another Stoic practice. At the end of each day, write, "If today had been my last, would I be content with how I lived it?" Yes? Honor that. No? Adjust tomorrow. That's real accountability, not punishment. Perspective. Because the truth is, you will have a last morning. One day, the sun will rise and you won't be here to see it. That's not to scare you. It's to wake you up. Because maybe the miracle isn't that life ends. Maybe the miracle is that you get another morning at all. So tomorrow, don't just start your day. End it first. Say, "If this is all I get, let it be real. Let me show up. Let me soften. Let me not wait." And in that remembrance, you'll meet the day not as a chore, but as a gift you're finally ready to receive. Begin again while every morning is a second chance. You've made mistakes. So have I. You've said things you regret. So have I. You've broken your own promises. So have I. You've woken up some days already feeling behind. But here's the truth the Stoics whispered every morning. You get to begin again. Not in theory, but in practice. Because every sunrise is a silent invitation. Not to be perfect, but to return. Seneca said, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." Each morning, you close one page, and you get to turn to a blank one. Not because yesterday didn't happen, but because you are not trapped by it. That's what makes the Stoic path not just noble, but merciful. It doesn't punish your past. It asks, will you lead yourself today? Let me be honest with you. There will be mornings where you feel like giving up, like you've already fallen behind, like you failed before the day even began. Those are not the days to push harder. They are the days to return to one simple sentence. I get to begin again. No shame. No delay. No permission needed. This is not blind optimism. It's applied forgiveness. It's rational mercy. Because no matter what happened yesterday, you woke up today. And if you woke up, then something in life still wants to work through you, still wants to teach you, still wants to build you, still wants to walk with you. So what does begin again look like in practice? It looks like taking one deep breath before you spiral, sitting for 2 minutes in silence, even if you missed your hour, speaking kindly to yourself when your inner critic wants to attack, reopening the journal, the book, the stillness, choosing presence in the next moment even if the last one slipped. The next moment is always waiting. You just have to meet it. Let me tell you about Raphael. Raphael is a recovering perfectionist. If his morning didn't go perfectly, he'd give up. One late morning, he messaged his coach. I missed everything. The day's ruined. The coach replied with 3 words. Begin at noon. That line changed everything. Raphael realized the practice isn't about time. It's about choice. So now he lives by a mantra. Begin again wherever you are. Whether it's 6 a.m., 10 a.m., or 3 p.m. Whether HCS calm or anxious, whether the plan stayed or collapsed, he still begins. And in that he is always free. Because the most powerful thing you can say each morning is not, I will crush the day. It's, I will return again and again to what matters. To breath, to virtue, to stillness, to your own center. Your final Stoic morning ritual. Each morning, write one line. Today, I begin again. And below that end, what you're releasing, what your ray minus choosing, what your ray minus aligning. For example, I release the pressure to be perfect. I ray minus choose patience with my partner. I ray minus align with clarity in my work. You'll find that one line becomes your internal compass. Not shouting, not dramatic, just a quiet return to truth. Marcus Aurelius wrote, think of yourself as dead. You have lived your life. Now, take what's left and live it properly. That is not morbid. It's liberating. Because you don't owe your past anything. You owe this morning everything. Final reflection. You've completed this journey. You've sat with stillness, trained intention, practiced breath, met discomfort, rehearsed strength, spoken truth. And now, you don't just know Stoicism. You've lived it morning by morning. You've built a mental rhythm, an inner compass, a way of returning. And that is a gift most people never open. So as you move forward, remember the core truth of everything we've practiced. You are not your reaction. You are your response. You are not your circumstance. You are your choice. You are not the noise. You are the listener beneath it. And above all, you are never too far gone to begin again. So tomorrow morning, whether you rise with energy or fog, whether life feels sharp or silent, pause, breathe, whisper, I begin again, and begin.